Okay, so in this video live stream, I'm going to show you how to create a custom GPT using OpenAI's ChatGPT. So this is a major update that really makes AI and makes ChatGPT much more useful for everybody, and particularly for businesses and people who have a lot of content want to customize how they use with their own content. So I think the best way to explain is to actually show it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you where I take the content from a workbook that I have, and I actually use that in creating my own custom ChatGPT. So this is my author page on Amazon. I just want to show you where I'm pulling the information from. So here's the books and booklets that I have. I have a podcast launch workbook here, and I'll actually show you what it looks like in terms of PDF. So this is the PDF. It's a workbook that you can fill in the print version, and it has information about setting up your podcast, goals, audience, topic, format, things like that. Okay, so I'm going to use that and use that content in ChatGPT. So over here on ChatGPT, I'm logged in here, and because I am using a paid account, this is important, you have to have a paid account, and I think you have to have beta features turned on as well. You may need to have that. So I get this new section called a builder profile that's come up for me, and you may not have this available yet, but it will be rolled out to everybody. And so you can see, you can set up your name and your domains and things like that in here as well. So what this is going to do is I'm going to be able to go over here, and I'm going to click on Explore, and I'm going to set up a ChatGPT, a custom version for a specific purpose. So you can see I've got a test one here that I did earlier. So I'm going to come in here. This is the builder for your GPT. And the pretty cool thing about this is you can actually just create it. Like, there's no coding involved. You can just talk to it and get it to create it for you. So I'm going to tell it what I want. I'm going to give it instructions here as to what I want it to create in terms of a builder. So I'm going to tell it I want to create a GPT that allows businesses to plan, launch, and run a business podcast. So this GPT that I'm going to create is totally going to be around helping businesses to run a business podcast. And that's something I know a lot about. I've written a book about it, and I've got this stuff available. So it's working away now. It's figuring out what it needs to do. And so while that's working, I just want to point out it's got this little section over here, configure. You can put some stuff in here, but it's actually going to fill in a lot of that for you. So you can fill that in manually. There you go. It's actually filled these in already. So it's got some information in here. So now it's got, first of all, it's customized these little conversation starters that they call it. And you can actually set those to different. You can just write in your own prompts here. Now, here's where it's interesting. This knowledge here, you can upload files, and I'm going to do that. So remember when I showed you the PDF? I took the PDF and I took the text, I extracted the text from the PDF. So this is the entire text from this workbook. And I've extracted that, and I'm going to upload it here. So I'm just going to go find out where that text is on my computer. And I'm going to grab, okay, so I've got the name. So I'm going to upload this, and there we go. So this is uploading, and that's the text that you saw, this text here. So this is all the text from my book. So I'm not sure, this is a workbook, but it does have all of the content, like picking goals, picking podcast goals, things like that. So it's got this here. So now it has integrated my my content. So now it's asking me over here in the chat, because remember I flicked into configure, but we've got the chat here. So it's saying, what do you want to call it? Podcast Pro Guide. So I'm going to call this something to do with business podcast, business podcast assistant. Okay. So it's going to rename this for me now. Cool. And so it'll probably suggest a profile image next. So there we go. So it's actually generating a profile picture for us already. And so this is using the image generation tool within ChatGPT, which is called DALL-E. And so that's running away, that's working. I'm interested in something. So here's the initial. I'm going to say I like that, but I'd like to include red because that's kind of my brand colors are red and gray. So it's going to just do another version of this. So now while that's working, I'm just going to look over here at these different sections. These are pretty good starter questions. How do I start a business podcast? Here's the updated profile picture with red included. And so it hasn't automatically updated. I'm just going to say I like that and just see does it just automatically update that. So I might do another version later, but that's pretty good. Okay, so it's automatically changed it there now. Cool. Okay, so what specific areas of podcasting should the GPT focus on? So I want to help business owners and those responsible for starting, launching, or running a business podcast, to do just that. All aspects of planning the podcast. So this is giving it some more information and it's updating. So it may update these and tweak these based on the inputs that I'm giving. Okay, so interaction style. Formal, professional, please be conversational. And direct, with no filler or fluff. So that's just that's something that I say quite often, which is quite like my writing style. It gets a lot closer to my writing style, and maybe that's because I come from kind of a software engineering background, but I write in that way when I write. So okay, is it anything specific it should avoid discussing? One other thing, I want to import an equipment list. So when people buy one of my books, one of the things I let them do is opt into this list. I've got a bunch of resources here. The podcast launch workbook is one of those resources. You can get it for free. You can actually get it for free over here on Amazon as well. But you can download it for free when you get any of my books. And I also have some other things here, including this equipment list. So I'm going to grab this equipment list, and I don't know, so this is just downloading the PDF here. So let's see. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so I'm going to see if I can just do copy. Actually, no, let me try upload it here. So in the configure section, I'm going to upload it, and let's go grab that equipment list here. So there it is. So hopefully it's picked up that. It may already have done that. So, so read both the files I uploaded. So we'll see now. Again, I'm just I'm doing this for the second time. I did a short test earlier, but this is very much a live demo. I've just got access to this, but I think this is going to be pretty major in terms of how people use ChatGPT and creating these. So now we have where it's got more complex clarifying questions. So I'm going to say always. No, I don't want to say always, because that could be dangerous to say. Typically, you should ask simple clarifying questions. Right. So, how do I start a business podcast? That's not a bad one. What equipment do I need for podcasting? That's not bad. Tips for promoting my podcast. I'm not crazy about the wording of that one, and how to engage podcast listeners. Again, I don't like those. So encouraging. So over here, it's just asking me about personality. So I'm going to say personality. friendly, encouraging, but direct and straightforward. I guess I don't know if that's contradictory, but that's kind of how I see the way that I deal with the way that I speak and the way that I write. So hopefully it's going to pick that up. Right now, the reason why this is so cool is because we now have a ChatGPT that we can see over here that I can share with internally inside my business or with clients. So, okay, so it's saying it's got it all set up. So now, final thing I'm going to do is I'm going to save it over here. But here's the cool thing. I can share it only with me, only people with a link, or I can make it public. So I'm actually going to make this public because I want to get people using it and I want to test it. So there's a few things that are important here. So first off is the fact that the information that I uploaded in here is now available in inside of ChatGPT, so it's trained on it, and I don't know if they're taking like I haven't found an option. I had a look in the options. I don't see any way to restrict that it's not being trained on it. I know that if you use ChatGPT Enterprise, that the Enterprise version they make it so that any data that you enter in there shouldn't be used. I say shouldn't, probably isn't being used to train their systems. But when you're using just the regular bog standard version of ChatGPT, anything that you enter may be used to train the system. And I'm sure that they're going to be pressured to bring in more kind of privacy and stuff like that. But just be aware, the fact that I put the book text from my own book up there, the fact that I did that, I already have the rights to my book, obviously, and I've uploaded it here. But be careful that you don't upload stuff that you don't have the rights to. And then the other thing is just be aware, like I make that book available for free, so I'm quite happy for the book to live in ChatGPT as content. But it's really important to know that your content may be used to train the model. Okay, so one thing that I didn't do here was I didn't customize those starter questions, but you can do that fairly easily. And so let's see, I'm going to go over here. So I can set up a new chat. If I actually want to edit that now, I have to go back into Explore and go into Explore and then into Edit here. And I'll do that. I'll just customize one of these questions. So, and it's written a description here, and let me see. Tips for promoting my podcast. So, how can I get more? I get more listeners for my podcast right now. That's I prefer that question. How to engage podcast listeners. So yeah, that's okay. I'm still not crazy about that question, but we'll leave that for now because I don't want to make this live stream too long. So this is how we set it up. I can copy it over here, and I don't know if I can see it in incognito, but yeah. So you can see that this is available, and so somebody can come log in. If somebody gets this link and they're already logged into ChatGPT, it should just work for them. So that's a public URL. So I don't know why it's. So if I may need to log in here again. Okay. So, I don't know why it's asking me to do that. So I might need to check out the permissions. What permissions have I given it? So explore, edit this. So unpublished changes. So public, confirm. So maybe it was something to do with that. So now I'm going to go over. So this now should be publicly available. I'm going to make this link. I'm going to use my my short link. So just bear with me a second here. I'm just doing something in the other screen because I don't want to show any private login details for another tool that I use. And what I'm going to do over here is. Okay, so I've made a short link, and that short link, well, it's not that short really, is it? Podcast Assistant. So if you go to rec.nz/podcast assistant, you will actually end up on this one that I've just created. So that's the link that people can access this. Now, I didn't actually show you me interacting with this, but I'll just give you. So first off, I'm just going to say, what equipment do I need? I'm just going to click one of the links here. And so you can imagine providing this to one of your clients, for example, with knowledge based on your blogs or things like that. And so let's see, it should be pulling this. Yeah, so it's pulling this from my resources. And it's pulling out the recommendation of ATR 2100X and the Shure MV7, which is what I recommend in that. And it's also giving us recommendations on headphones, boom arm, audio interface. Okay, so that is pretty good, although I think that I would prefer it to be more simple. So I might have to customize that because it's giving a lot of information here, whereas I think you can get started with less than that. And so there's a difference between here's all the stuff that you can use, or here's all the stuff that you can get started with. But so I'm going to see, can I customize that? But you can see that you can create a ChatGPT that is trained on your information, your data. And I think this is going to be a big deal. So I'm going to work on improving this business podcast assistant. It's going to be something that will help people to plan and run their podcast. I'm going to be using it myself for sure, because I'm going to be putting the prompts, because I have a lot of prompts over here that I use for my podcast. And so for writing show notes and things like that. So for example, here's one where I get it to write show notes for my podcast. And I'm going to integrate these into this so that I can just say, write show notes for this episode, rather than having to use the prompt. I'm going to be using it in that way. So I'm going to be using this myself internally, and I'm also going to be making it available for people to use outside as well. So if you're interested in any of this, sign up for my email list at therecognizedauthority.com, and you will get access to the live stream and all the stuff that I'm showing, and I'll include links for that as well. So if you visit therecognizedauthority.com, you'll find all of that. So thanks for watching this one, and I'd love to hear about how you're going to use the custom GPTs. I think they are going to be a major deal in terms of how people are using chatbots, because now we can train it on our own information, and we can put our business stuff up there. Just again, bear in mind, if you put something up into ChatGPT, they may then train the model on it, unless you're in the enterprise version, which maybe a lot of people who are watching this don't have access to that. If your organization has access to the enterprise version, then you probably already have your own custom LLM, your own custom ChatGPT created for you. But for people who are smaller businesses and are setting this up for yourself, just be really careful. You're putting your own information up, don't put other people's stuff up there, and just be aware it may train the model on it. But this is going to be a big deal. I've only kind of touched the tip of the iceberg with this one in terms of what you can do with it. It's going to be pretty cool when we can create these custom GPTs and then share them. For example, we can share them just with our clients, or we can share them with the wider public, let people use our stuff. So yeah, I'd love to hear how you are using this, if you're going to use it, and how you feel about this. Like all of this AI stuff, it's moving so quickly. I know it's scaring some people, and I know that people are worried about jobs and all of that kind of stuff as well. But I think that the important thing for people who can't influence regulation is for us to learn how to use it as much as possible. And for people who can influence regulation, I think the important thing is to try and make sure that this stuff is regulated, because otherwise it'll just be a runaway train. So we need to keep an eye on that. So again, thanks for watching this. I hope you found it useful, and please let me know if you create a custom GPT, and you can let me test it. I'd love to go play around and see what you've done with it.